14.
Guam, the United States' westernmost territory, is fast becoming one of the most important pieces on the Indo-Pacific chessboard. Its position, about 1,600 miles east of Manila and 1,700 miles south of Tokyo, places it close enough to key Asian flashpoints for rapid action, yet far enough to provide a defensive cushion from the immediate reach of China's growing missile arsenal. The island's unique status as U.S. sovereign soil gives American forces a rare degree of freedom. Unlike bases in Japan or South Korea, Guam requires no host nation approval for deployments, allowing Washington to surge bombers, submarines, and logistics assets without diplomatic delay. This autonomy makes Guam a cornerstone of U.S. forward presence and a dependable pivot in any Indo-Pacific contingency.
Its geography is strategically decisive.
Roughly 4,000 miles west of Hawaii, half the distance to Beijing compared to Honolulu, Guam offers unmatched response time for U.S. and allied operations. In crises over Taiwan or the South China Sea, it serves as the bridge between continental U.S. forces and first-line allies like the Philippines and Japan. As the centerpiece of the second island chain, a defensive arc running from the Ogasawara Islands through the Marianas to Palau, Guam provides the deeper layer of a U.S. defense in-depth strategy. Should frontline bases in Japan, Okinawa, or the northern Philippines come under attack, Guam's hardened facilities and distance create a more survivable fallback for sustained operations.
Guam's military infrastructure is formidable.
Andersen Air Force Base hosts the largest munitions stockpile in the Air Force and regularly deploys B-1B and B-2 strategic bombers capable of long-range precision strikes. Naval Base Guam is home to Submarine Squadron 15 and forward-deployed submarine tenders, ensuring continuous undersea patrols. Together, these assets enable sustained sea-air operations and rapid escalation control across the Western Pacific. The island also anchors U.S. efforts to counter China's rapid rise. Beijing now fields over 370 warships and submarines, the world's largest fleet, and is testing advanced platforms like the aircraft carrier Fujian and extra-large uncrewed underwater vehicles. Chinese Coast Guard and militia ships have normalized dangerous maneuvers around Taiwan and in Philippine waters. Guam fits squarely into Washington's island chain strategy, designed to contain such expansion and deny China unchallenged access to the Pacific.
For the Philippines and Taiwan, Guam provides vital strategic depth.
Its location makes it the closest major, resilient U.S. logistics hub for reinforcing frontline bases, enabling rapid troop movements and sustained operations even if Philippine or Taiwanese facilities are struck. U.S. war games consistently show that Guam's ability to stay operational under fire could determine whether timely reinforcements reach these allies. This mission is reinforced by U.S. security commitments. The 1951 Mutual Defense Treaty with the Philippines, updated in 2023 to cover attacks on Coast Guard vessels anywhere in the South China Sea, ensures American military support. While the Taiwan Relations Act stops short of a formal treaty, it obliges Washington to provide Taiwan with the means to defend itself, a policy backed by increasingly open joint training and intelligence sharing.
History underscores Guam's enduring value.
During World War II, it served as a critical launch pad for the liberation of the Philippines and assaults on Japan. After the Vietnam War, it became a humanitarian hub for refugees. More recently, combined exercises involving U.S., Japanese, Australian, and Philippine warships have shown how Guam supports multilateral security and disaster relief operations alike. Looking ahead, massive investment, over $10 billion, with Japan funding about 60%, is hardening Guam's resilience. Projects such as the One Guam Comprehensive Infrastructure Resiliency Plan are burying power lines and reinforcing substations. The U.S. is also deploying a new Guam defense system with THAAD and Patriot missile batteries, including advanced radars capable of intercepting hypersonic threats, to ensure operations can continue even under missile attack.
These elements explain why Guam is now viewed as an indispensable, sovereign U.S. platform whose security is directly tied to the survival of Taiwan and the sovereignty of the Philippines. By providing unmatched logistical reach, survivability, and deterrent power, Guam has become the linked front line that will shape the balance of power and the rules of order across the Indo-Pacific for decades to come. Guam's unique political status makes it the most reliable forward foothold the United States has in the Western Pacific. Because Guam is a U.S. territory, not a foreign host nation, the Pentagon doesn't need basing treaties, annual renewals, or parliamentary votes to surge forces, stockpile munitions, run 24/7 ISR, or launch combat sorties. That translates into faster decision cycles, fewer political veto points, and assured access in a crisis, advantages no overseas base can fully match. It also simplifies command and control in logistics. U.S. law, procurement, and security rules apply end-to-end, which is critical when moving sensitive weapons, cyber and space assets, or nuclear-powered submarines. For allies like the Philippines and Taiwan, that permanence matters. Guam is the anchor that keeps U.S. reinforcement plans credible, even when regional politics get noisy.
Geography turns that legal certainty into real operational speed. Sitting roughly 4,000 miles west of Hawaii and far closer to Asian flashpoints, Guam is about twice as close to Beijing as Honolulu, and only hours by air from Luzon and the Taiwan Strait. From Andersen Air Force Base, tankers, airlifters, and long-range bombers can flow quickly into the first island chain, while Navy and Marine forces stage in the Philippine Sea without telegraphing routes from the continental United States. Ships can reload, repair, and recrew at Guam and turn back to sea in days rather than weeks, shrinking the time-distance problem that complicates deterrence. Just as important, forces staged on Guam are outside the tightest rings of coastal anti-ship and anti-air threats, yet close enough to surge forward or strike when needed, precisely the strategic depth Manila and Taipei require to complicate any rapid fait accompli. The island's military infrastructure turns that depth into sustained combat power. Andersen AFB houses vast fuel farms and one of the Air Force's largest munition stockpiles, enabling rotations of B-2 bombers, B-1B bombers, and B-52 bombers, plus agile combat employment packages that can disperse across the theater on short notice. Next door, Naval Base Guam hosts Submarine Squadron 15, with nuclear-powered fast-attack submarines and 2 forward-deployed submarine tenders, giving U.S. boats a rare ability to rearm, repair, and redeploy without returning to the West Coast. Add in a permanently based THAAD battery and the build-out of an integrated Guam air and missile defense architecture, and the island becomes a hardened logistics hub, strike platform, and sanctuary all at once. For the Philippines and Taiwan, that combination means reliable resupply, rapid reinforcement, and continuous undersea and air pressure on any adversary. Exactly the kind of strategic depth that strengthens deterrence and buys time when it matters most. China's rapid ascent as both an economic and military power sets the backdrop for Guam's growing strategic relevance. By whole count, China now possesses the world's largest navy, over 370 ships and submarines, and continues to launch advanced vessels at a striking pace. Its newest aircraft carrier, the Fujian, signals the ability to field stealth-capable carrier aviation and extend power projection across the Western Pacific. Meanwhile, Beijing is steadily eroding Taiwan's sovereignty, using its Coast Guard and maritime militia to normalize military operations around outlying islands like Kinmen and Pratas. These gray zone incursions test Taiwan's responses and wear down its defenses without sparking open conflict. For U.S. planners, these trends mean China can mass force or choke sea lanes with little warning, threatening freedom of navigation and the credibility of American security guarantees. The United States answers this challenge with a 3-tiered island chain strategy, a network of defensive lines stretching from Japan through Taiwan and the Philippines to the Malay Peninsula. Guam, an American territory, sits just behind the first island chain and provides a secure, sovereign platform from which to project power forward. Pentagon officials describe the buildup across these island arcs as a way to increase deterrence and power projection for possible responses to crises and disasters in support of allies like Japan, South Korea, the Philippines, and Taiwan. By anchoring the second line of this chain, Guam serves as both a shield and a springboard, close enough to reinforce partners rapidly, yet far enough to remain a hardened, sustainable base even under missile threat. These dynamics explain why Guam has become indispensable. China's massive naval growth and persistent pressure on Taiwan create the very scenarios the island chain strategy is designed to counter. And because Guam is U.S. soil, It offers an unfettered launch point for air, sea, and cyber operations. Strategic depth that helps ensure a free and open Indo-Pacific, even as the military balance in Asia grows more volatile.
Guam anchors the second island chain, a key layer of the U.S. forward defense concept that complements the first island chain of Japan, Taiwan, and the Philippines. The second island chain stretches from Japan's remote Ogasawara Islands through the Mariana Islands, including Guam and onward to Palau. Unlike the first island chain, which lies within immediate reach of China's coastal missile and air forces, this second arc provides defense in depth, giving the United States a more survivable base network if the front line is threatened or temporarily denied.
Guam's location, roughly 1,800 miles from China's coastline, is central to this defensive logic. While this distance does not place it beyond the reach of China's rapidly growing arsenal of intermediate-range ballistic missiles, IRBMs, including the Dongfeng DF series. It significantly reduces vulnerability compared to bases in Okinawa or Luzon. The extra distance complicates Chinese targeting and buys the US and its allies critical time to detect launches, maneuver assets, and mount countermeasures, thereby weakening Beijing's anti-access, area denial, A2AD strategy that aims to keep US forces out of the Western Pacific in a crisis.
To harden Guam against these very threats, the U.S. has embarked on an ambitious, multi-layered Guam Defense System, GDS. By March 2025, the island hosted 6 terminal high-altitude area defense, THAAD, missile launchers, and a powerful fire control radar, with plans to expand into a full-spectrum, 360-degree defensive shield. The Pentagon has already approved the addition of a new Patriot Air Defense Battalion, and testing of the lower-tier air and missile defense sensor radar recently demonstrated the ability to intercept a fast, air-breathing target with a Patriot missile, exactly the sort of hypersonic-like threat expected in a high-end conflict. These systems integrate with sea-based Aegis ships and U.S. Space Force early warning networks, creating overlapping layers of detection and interception. This transformation makes Guam more than a logistics hub. It is now a heavily fortified bastion capable of sustaining operations even under missile assault. By anchoring the second island chain with robust missile defenses and long-range strike forces, Guam gives Washington a resilient springboard for reinforcing allies like the Philippines and Taiwan, and for projecting power deep into the Western Pacific. In a scenario where the first island chain is compromised, Guam ensures that the United States retains both the reach and the staying power to keep the Indo-Pacific open and free. Guam's strategic value to the Philippines and Taiwan begins with geography. Although not immediate neighbors, the island sits within rapid reinforcement distance of the 2 flashpoints that matter most in the Western Pacific. The Luzon Strait, less than 100 miles wide at its narrowest, and the Taiwan Strait beyond it. This makes Guam the nearest large, secure U.S. base complex able to sustain prolonged operations in a crisis. As one Indo-Pacific Command assessment puts it, Taiwan's defense is deeply tied to Guam's resilience. Our bases serve as forward logistics hubs, power projection points, and strategic assets that support Taiwan's deterrence. In practical terms, Guam acts as the rear area for both Manila and Taipei, where reinforcements, munitions, and supplies can be pre-positioned and launched quickly if conflict erupts. The island's military infrastructure turns this geography into hard power. Andersen Air Force Base, with one of the largest munition stockpiles in the entire U.S. Air Force, can host B-1B bombers and B-2 strategic bombers for long-range strike, while Naval Base Guam, home to nuclear-powered fast-attack submarines and submarine tenders, supports rapid undersea and surface operations across the Philippine Sea and Taiwan Strait. U.S. war games consistently show that in most Taiwan or Luzon-based scenarios, timely support hinges on Guam's ability to remain operational under sustained missile or cyber attack. For this reason, Washington is hardening runways, expanding fuel depots, and reinforcing command centers to keep Guam mission-ready under fire. For both the Philippines and Taiwan, Guam ultimately provides strategic depth and deterrence by resiliency. The U.S. strategy aims to ensure that even if Guam were struck, it could absorb damage and continue to generate combat power, denying Beijing the hope of a quick, decisive blow. This resilience strengthens deterrence by guaranteeing that supply lines and U.S. combat presence would endure. Conversely,
Guam's own staying power serves as a shield for Taiwan and the Philippines, assuring that any attack on them would still draw a sustained and credible U.S. response.
In sum, Guam is far more than a distant outpost. By combining secure geography, massive logistics and firepower, and a hardened defensive shell, the island gives Washington, and by extension, Manila and Taipei, the depth and staying power needed to counter China's expanding naval and missile power and to keep vital Pacific sea lanes free. The 1951 U.S.-Philippines Mutual Defense Treaty, MDT, remains the foundation of America's security commitment to Manila. It obliges both nations to aid each other if either is attacked in the Pacific. This pledge was sharpened in 2023, when the two allies issued bilateral defense guidelines explicitly confirming that an armed attack anywhere in the South China Sea, including on public vessels, Coast Guard ships, aircraft, or armed forces, would automatically trigger the MDT's mutual defense obligations. The clarification directly responds to Chinese harassment around flashpoints such as Second Thomas Shoal, where Philippine supply missions have repeatedly faced Chinese ramming and water cannon attacks. To give these guarantees practical force, Manila has expanded U.S. military access under the Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement, EDCA, adding 4 new bases, several near the Luzon Strait. These facilities link seamlessly with Guam's logistics and strike capabilities, ensuring U.S. forces can surge quickly to defend Philippine territory and sea lanes. The American security posture toward Taiwan is different but complementary. Under the Taiwan Relations Act, 1979, the United States does not pledge mutual defense, but is legally committed to provide Taipei with the means to defend itself and to maintain the capacity to resist force or coercion. China's foreign ministry consistently warns that Taiwan is the core of China's core interest. Yet U.S.-Taiwan security ties continue to quietly deepen. Notably, Taiwanese military observers recently joined a U.S.-Philippines-Japan exercises in the Batanes Islands, only about 100 miles from Taiwan, underscoring growing operational connections. These arrangements, a formal treaty with the Philippines and a robust, if unofficial, commitment to Taiwan, create a layered regional defense network. They tie Guam's formidable bases and supply hubs to frontline allies and partners,
signaling that any attack on Philippine forces or a violent move against Taiwan would risk immediate and sustained U.S. military involvement. Guam's future will shape the balance of power and the defense of international norms across the Pacific.
If you liked the video, do not forget to like, share, and subscribe our channel for deep analysis of contemporary issues.